Salam alaikum alaikum salam. This is Tata Matamba. Today we're doing a video on Kinenga, balance in Palo Mayombe. Some people can refer this to karma, but it's not quite karma. Even though they have a saying called Makwenda Makwisa, which means what goes around comes around. I'm going to try my best to explain Kinenga, even though I will not be going such in depth within these concepts due to initiation rites. Now, to understand Kinenga, we have to understand Kalunga. Through Kalunga, we understand that everything is in constant motion. For example, the gravitational and electrical forces ensure large objects are in motion, while the infirm and firm nuclear forces ensure the quantum realm is constantly in motion also. To understand the concept of Kinenga, balance, we need to view the world in terms of processes subject to constant change. In other words, I just say go out to nature, and you'll understand that everything's constantly moving around, from the quantum realm, which they call quantum fluctuations, to the Earth revolution around the sun, and the infinite galaxies whirling around, black holes, and the ongoing expansion of our universe. Everything's in motion. You go out to nature and you look, you just sit out there and you observe nature, and you see the wind moving, picking up leaves, picking up pollen. You see ants, dragonflies, you see mosquitoes, you see snakes, you see the earth itself eating away through fungi, and plants growing and plants dying. Everything's in constant motion, and we are also. And the city is everything's moving. Everything's constantly moving. But at the same time, there's a certain kinenga, or a process, that is subject to change. It's undergo a process, and then everything happens and change comes. And that's kinenga, to find the balance, to be at will at that moment. I'll give some examples in a few, like some pictures, because these examples, it's hard to go in depth within the concept of Kinenga without giving secrets. So I have to give some examples for you guys to truly understand. But we're going to go ahead and get into Kinenga. So I need you guys to see it in this way. Kinenga, balance, is opposite forces interacting with one another. We cannot interpret these forces as good or bad, holy or evil. We can only interpret these forces as differences. For example, up and down, life and death, left and right, ignited and extinguished, regenerate and degenerate, rise and fall, male and female, eat and starve, young and old, wealthy and poor. Everything has a counterbalance to it. Either you're in one state of it or going into another state of it. And everything is relative. It's kind of like the two sides of the same coin, and is constantly trying to find one of the sides, or those constant motions. You can kind of see it like karma, like the yin and yang, and they both have the duality in them. This concept is very hard to explain without going into other concepts or things that only initiated people can actually know. But I'll go ahead and get into some of the examples, and I'll go ahead and start off with I want you guys to think of a tree in the forest. Let's pick it up real quick. Okay, let's think of a tree in the forest, right? And everything in the forest has kinenga, right? The tree has kinenga. You yourself have a kinenga. The plants, the dirt, the bigger futu, the planet, the birds, everything has a kinenga, has a balance. And let's say that you're going to stay the night camping in the woods, right? And obviously you're like, well, I need to start a fire, because if not, my kinenga is going to get out of balance and I'm going to have hypothermia. That means that you can pass away or you can die from extreme cold conditions. So you decide to go out and look at this tree, and it has this kinenga. There's positive forces acting for the tree, like photosynthesis and the nutrients within the ground and water. and any other animal that lives symbiotically with a tree. And there's other forces also that affect the tree's kinenga, like other trees or other animals, or even you, right? That you're not gonna go and cut down a branch from the tree because you need firewood. And that affects the tree's kinenga. And when you cut down the branch, the life force, a piece of that kinenga goes with you. That's stuck inside of that branch that you're gonna use for firewood. So now that we got the firewood, let's go ahead and start the fire. And now that we started the fire, I want you to also keep in mind that by you cutting the tree and taking the branch and using it as firewood, it's neither good nor bad. It's bad for the tree, but it's good for you because you get to not die of hypothermia or have extreme cases of hypothermia that night. So you see, it's a symbiotic relationship. If you just cut the tree down for no reason, that's just negative completely. But it's a give and take. So now that we started the fire itself has a kinenga. And as the fire consumes the firewood, right, that has the life force inside of the branch that the tree got from the sun or got from the earth, it radiates it out and it puts out heat, and that's what keeps you warm or keeps us warm, right? So the fire has a kinenga, you have kinenga, everything has a kinenga. And the more that you feed the fire, you have to be very careful. This is where the medicine of karma and all this is going to come into play in a second. If you feed the fire too much, it can get out of control and it can cause a backlash or a whiplash. And, now you have a forest fire out of something that could have been positive that had a certain control, certain balance. Now it's out of control. The same vice versa. If you decide not to keep the fire within control, within a balance, within its kinenga alive to a certain degree, the fire is going to start to get extinguished. And less heat will radiate from the fire. And the more colder you will start to feel at night while you're sleeping out there in the forest, till eventually the fire is not radiating any heat at all because it took all of the, or it ate, or it transformed, or irradiated all the kinenga or moyo that was inside of that branch. And it turned itself into ash. It radiated all the life force within the branch. So now, just to sum everything up, the tree itself had its own kinenga, those two opposite forces playing within its kinenga, and you came and you broke, or you hatched out a branch, and the branch itself had its kinenga. You use it as firewood. It sped up the process. Firewood has its own kinenga also, and it radiated the heat that you needed so it can stabilize your kinenga, and then it eventually died off. So I hope this concept or this example amplified, and rather as an example. Hopefully this example opened up or made you understand the concept of kinenga. Now we're going to go into a little bit of what I mean about kinenga with karma or the backlash, because I spoke about the fire. If you feed it too much, it can get out of control. But I think with the force of water, you can kind of understand what kinenga is. I'll give you these two examples and see which one you can grasp better. Within karma, makwena makwisa, what goes around comes around. Within the medicine of Palo Mayombe, when you do things. And we'll tie it all up now in the end. So we're going to go ahead and think of a pond that, is very extremely still. There's no movement at all. And this pond is so still that you can actually see the reflection in the water. But you see, that stillness is kinenga. No movement, neither right or left or forward or backward. Is just still, complete stillness, right? And let's say now That stillness or kinenga is your life, is in any aspect of your life, even spiritually, like within Palo Mayombe. You're gonna do an ensada for good or for bad, it doesn't matter. Or you're gonna make a decision in your life, in your love life, in your financial life, in your social life, in your health life, like your mental health, any of these decisions. And that all of that represents the pond. You're gonna make the decision, right? And it's just like if we throw now a pebble inside the pond and it causes a ripple. And that decision or that caused that ripple is what disturbs the kinenga. And it eventually, right, let's say there's something inside the pond or the edge of the pond, it'll eventually wave out and then it'll ripple backwards towards wherever the ripple hit. And it acts like a wave. And that's what we mean by makwenda makwisa. What goes around comes around. Karma, the result of current decisions and actions. So when you go do a spiritual job or doing something negative on top of your inkisis, just understand that it's going to have a ripple effect. It's going to go out, but it's also going to come back. It's going to be kind of like an echo. You're gonna ripple it out, and it's going to act like as a wave, and it's going to come right back. And if you didn't have your kinenga balanced, or you don't understand these concepts, it's going to have an effect in your life. So it's very important to truly understand the practice, because I just said it, this is not a religion. It's looked as a religion, but it's not a religion. This is a practice. This is exist. This is real. This is just like you wake up in the morning and you start doing decisions, and it has effects in your life. It's the same way. You go, you construct an inkisi, or you receive an inkisi, and you do ensadas on top of it. It ripples out into your life, into your patient's life, into your family, into the world. So it's very serious. The Bakongo understood that. That's why they always worship their ancestors and the ancestral forces from nature, because they understood that everything is interconnected at the end of the day. And that's why those ripples happen. That's why everything gets affected by the kinenga. And it's very important. So let's do a little check on learning. What affects the kinenga? That's a good question. Check on learning here, huh? At the end of the day, your decisions affect your kinenga also. Not just spirituality, Palo Mayombe, your decisions, your habits, all of that affects your kinenga, just like you do medicine. Or what people say, brujeria, witchcraft. All of that affects, because you made the decision to do that insara or do that medicine, right? So you have to take these things very seriously, right? The different aspects of your life, your decisions play a very big role or affect the kinenga is spirituality or religion, friendship or social, health, mental health, finances, work, career, family, love, emotions. All these are aspects of your life, and they all have kinenga. They're all interweaved. They're all interconnected. And if the kinenga gets unbalanced due to medicine or witchcraft or decisions that you made day to day, can affect the other one. And it also affects everything all around, and it affects the community, and it affects the country, and it affects the world. It affects everything, because we're all interconnected at the end of the day. Hopefully you guys understand the concept of kinenga and how serious these things are, Palo Mayombe or any of these traditions, and your decisions are. Hopefully you guys live more consciously once you watch this video, and take the tradition or the practice very seriously. I want to leave you guys with Nsinga Tikanda Ninga Katu Bukako. Always uphold the tradition. Always make the right decisions for the tradition, right? So it can affect the kinenga positively. And if you guys have any questions, leave them in the comments. Like, share, subscribe. Salam alaikum. Malaikum salam.